Hey everybody, what's up? Jim Sorrell, Tanya Klein from Coverage Inc., the leader in screenplay analysis, development, and editing services for over 20 years. Tanya, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to talk about dialogue because basically we're just getting out of Get Rep Now. Almost all the scripts are back, working on it, a few more. But so there's one thing that we keep noticing, and that is problems with dialogue, and in particular, what we like to call on the nose dialogue. So we figured we're going to talk a little bit about on the nose dialogue. So, Jim, first, I think what we should do is talk about exactly what on the nose dialogue is. There are, several different versions of on the nose. One, for example, would be Jim, as you know, you and I have been running Coverage Inc., which is a screenplay analysis service, for many, many years.
I did not know that. Thank you very much for informing me of this. I'm so glad you told that to me for my benefit and not for the benefit of all the other people in the audience.
Yeah, so that would be one version. Another version of on the nose dialogue would be Jim, I am so mad. I feel so terrible, and this is the reason why I am mad and terrible. And because of the reason that I'm so mad and terrible, I'm going to do this and this and this and that now.
Well,
Okay?
I'm very angry at you for being so mad and terrible, and this is making me feel very uncomfortable and putting me in a position I don't really like being in very much. So rather than express those feelings through body language or, passive aggressive behavior or something like that, I'm just going to directly communicate that to you using words.
Okay, so those were our badly, badly acted examples of
What are you talking about?
our acting's great.
Did you see my Oscar? Oscar Goldman, I was talking about. Six
Yeah.
Million Dollar Man reference. Anyway,
Oh, okay. You just gave away your age. Don't do that.
okay.
All right. So basically, on the nose dialogue is a problem. So please look at your dialogue, have people over, have them read it out loud. But first of all, what can we do when we find on the nose dialogue?
Well, okay. Finding it, I think when you find it, that's you're ahead of the game. I think the problem with most people is they can't find it. Here's the thing, we all use subtext every day in our lives. Somebody tells us something and we don't want to hear it or we don't want to engage. We don't say, I didn't want to hear that just now. We might go, or we might go, yeah, whatever, or change the subject. This is all, it's body language, it's subtext, it's a way of being indirect. Okay, that's how we comport ourselves in real life. But when it comes time to write a screenplay, we forget how to do all of that. It's like we're suddenly back in college writing a term paper again, and we have to be, writing in formal style. It's crazy. So part of the problem, like you just said, Tanya, I think like if you actually like read stuff aloud or, maybe workshop it with people, when you hear it, it's a lot easier to find. But if you're just reading it off the page and you've just written it, it seems perfectly fine to you. It often takes someone else's perspective to actually say, well, I wouldn't really say it like that. So that's kind of how you find it. You really just have to speak it aloud. You have to think like, if I was really having this conversation with my dog, how would okay, maybe not the dog.
Maybe not the dog, but yes. So the trick is put yourself in the shoes of the character.
Yeah.
Because
And think like the character.
yes, in real life, we don't usually come right out and say, this is how I feel now, and therefore, la la la. We tend to prevaricate. We lie. We stay silent. We scowl. We use metaphor. We just walk away or get angry about something else because we're projecting. So basically, put yourself in the shoes of the character because in life, we usually aren't that vulnerable that we say exactly what we feel at any given moment. Uh,
Invulnerable, right? Is that
yes.
what you mean?
Well, no, we're usually not that. we don't make ourselves that obviously vulnerable that we let
Make
in.
ourselves okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we let people in on every emotion, every thought that we have. And your characters won't either. So look at the situation they're in and also look at what they're trying to accomplish. And what is the best way to accomplish that? Telling someone, I really want you to do this right now, might not be the best way to accomplish that.
Yeah, or you hurt my feelings, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so and this sort of gets us into the topic of subtext, which we'll talk about in another video, because that's a whole other thing to explore. But that's a technique that we can use to sort of express how we're feeling about something without being so direct about it. But I just want to go back to what you said when we first started talking on the topic, which was, the on the nose stuff, right? So a lot of people have a problem with telling their story without being on the nose because you kind of need a little bit of direct exposition, at least in the case of like, giving your hero the mission, right? That needs to be clearly explained. That has to be direct. It can't just be like, well, go over there and maybe you'll find something. It has to be like, no, you need to go do this now. That's where direct exposition is okay. But the rest of the time, we often find we need to explain everything to the audience every step of the way. But in real life and in like good TV shows, stuff doesn't get explained, or it doesn't get explained till much, much later. And we find that we can just sort of go along with it, just as long as it's not like, hey, wait, why did that just happen? Right. And
Basically,
then if we figure,
What Jim is saying is trust the audience. And now I'm sure Jim is going to launch into his favorite Breaking Bad anecdote.
well, I wasn't, but now that you mention it, and look, I mean, cribbed from the best, right? Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, they are masterpieces of doing exactly what I just said. You often don't find out why somebody is doing something until much later in the episode, and then you go, "Oh, okay, that explains it." It's never not explained. It's just not explained like when it's first brought up. In other words, the way conversation generally happens with two people. Let's say you're in the workplace. You're having a conversation with a coworker. You're not going to explain to your coworker what the project is that you're both working on. You both know that, right? So you call in Bill and you say, Bill, this is all going to shit. And Bill's going to go, all right, let me make some calls. That's the end of the scene. We don't know what's going on, but we know it's important to Bill and whoever the other guy is, right? Then later, when we see them on the calls, we'll be able to intuit what is going on, whatever that problem is, in an organic way.
Exactly. What, no Breaking Bad example? Come on. Come on, the poisoning episode. You know you want to.
Nah, not today. We'll save that. We'll save that
We'll
one.
save that for another time.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, before we stop this video, another quick thing about dialogue, because I think often writers try to get out backstory and they don't know how to get out backstory. And so they get out backstory in conversation. Let's remember that we're writing for a visual medium. Uh, do you really need to have a conversation about how decrepit this hospital is? Or is it enough to just pan over the entire hospital and show the audience how decrepit it is? Do you really need to have a conversation about how much you miss your parents and its life is so hard without them? Or can you just have a visual where the person is looking at an urn and having a hard time?
I seem to recall there's an expression for that, Tanya. Something about
Oh, showing,
showing,
not telling. Yes,
not
yes, that one.
telling.
Yes, people, please
Yeah. So
show.
film and TV are visual mediums, right? Sure, you can tell somebody something, and that's fine, and it's expedient, but it's often so much better to show the backstory. And there's so many ways that you can get that out once you start thinking visually. Photos on the mantle, newspaper clippings, characters watching old videos. Maybe somebody's just died, and we're watching some old videos with somebody, and we understand now emotionally how that makes the character feel. We don't have to have the character say, boy, I really miss mom.
Exactly. And in case of doubt, read it out loud.
Read it out loud. And so that'll do it for this one. Any questions, questions, advice, answers, they're always free. Just visit us at coverageinc.com and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm pointing to imaginary places, but somewhere on your screen, those buttons exist.
And also you can email us at info@coverageinc.com. That's ink with a K, like the ink that you write with. All right. Bye-bye.